On August 13, 2026, the S&P 500 closed near a record high of 7,800. Investors were buying technology stocks again. Wall Street banks were raising their year-end targets. And after a brief summer sell-off, confidence was coming back. It sounds like a healthy bull market. But there's a problem. The Federal Reserve says U.S. equity valuations remain in the upper range of their historical distribution, and one widely watched valuation measure, the Shiller CAPE ratio, was around 41 in July, a level exceeded only by the peak of the dot-com bubble. So the question isn't simply, is the market expensive? It's this. When markets have looked like this before, what happened next? History doesn't give investors a perfect prediction. It gives something more useful, patterns. And when you compare today's market with 1929, 1999, and the years surrounding 2021, something surprising appears. The biggest danger isn't necessarily that stocks crash tomorrow. In some of the most extreme periods in market history, the market kept rising long after people first started warning that prices were too high. That means the real story isn't boom versus crash. It's what happens when expectations become so powerful that even good news isn't enough to justify the prices investors are paying. And by the end, we'll see why today's market may resemble history in one important way, while being completely different in another. The market that refused to look expensive. For most investors, a record high feels like proof that everything is working. Corporate profits are strong, artificial intelligence is creating enormous expectations, investors are pouring money back into technology, and Wall Street is becoming increasingly optimistic. JP Morgan recently raised its 2026 year-end S&P 500 target to 8,000, citing stronger earnings and AI-driven growth. That creates an uncomfortable contradiction. The market can be expensive and still keep going higher. This is where investors often make their first mistake. They assume valuation is a clock. They think, stocks are expensive, therefore the crash must be close. History doesn't work that way. In 1996, Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan famously warned about irrational exuberance. The market didn't crash. It kept climbing. 3 years later, the dot-com bubble reached its peak. And that's one of the most dangerous lessons in finance. Being early can feel exactly like being wrong. The same problem exists today. AI has created enormous excitement because, unlike many companies during the dot-com era, today's biggest technology companies actually generate enormous revenues and profits. That's a major difference. But it creates another question. If the companies are real, can the prices still become unrealistic? Absolutely. Because a great company and a great investment are not always the same thing. 1999 wasn't crazy because the internet was fake. The dot-com bubble is often remembered incorrectly. People imagine investors buying worthless websites, losing everything, and learning that the internet was a fantasy. But the internet wasn't the fantasy. The mistake was believing that revolutionary technology automatically meant revolutionary stock returns. Investors were correct about the technology. They were wrong about the price. That's an important distinction for today's AI boom. Artificial intelligence may genuinely transform productivity, software, healthcare, manufacturing, and scientific research. But investors can still overpay for that future. And there's evidence that expectations have become enormous. Moody's recently warned that even if AI lives up to much of its technological promise, investors could still be disappointed because so much optimism may already be reflected in stock prices. This is how bubbles become difficult to recognize. The technology isn't necessarily fake. The companies aren't necessarily fake. The earnings aren't necessarily fake. The problem is the distance between reality and expectations. And when expectations become extreme, companies don't have to fail. They simply have to disappoint. That was the hidden mechanism behind many of the greatest market collapses, and it takes us much further back. The lesson from 1929. In 1929, America was experiencing an economic transformation. Mass production was expanding. Cars were changing transportation. Electricity was spreading. Consumer credit was growing. The stock market reflected enormous optimism about America's future. Sound familiar? But then the system turned. stock prices began falling, selling accelerated, and what started as a market decline became one of the most famous financial disasters in history. Yet here's the part that's often forgotten. The crash itself wasn't the entire disaster. The real damage came from what followed. Falling asset prices weakened balance sheets. Banks came under pressure. Businesses cut investment. Workers lost jobs. Consumers spent less. And the financial shock fed into the real economy. This is why market crashes matter. Stocks aren't isolated numbers on a screen. They're claims on businesses. Businesses employ people. They borrow money. They invest. They depend on consumers. So when financial conditions deteriorate, the consequences can travel far beyond Wall Street. But there is an important difference between 1929 and today. The modern banking system has far stronger capital requirements, and the Federal Reserve currently describes the U.S. financial system as sound and resilient. So history doesn't say 1929 is coming back.